Hi everyone, Jason Chan here. I am with Chelsea Cohen today. If you don't know her, I'm going to let her introduce herself. Go ahead.
I'm Chelsea Cohen. I'm the co-founder of SoStocked. It's an inventory management software for e-commerce sellers. And previous to that, I've been selling on Amazon since 2014.
Do you still sell now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. That's how you stay up to date.
Exactly. Right? All my greatest ideas come when I'm in trouble in inventory and have to solve the problem.
Exactly. So how's the show so far?
Very good. A lot of really great people, a lot of great service providers. Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Tell me about what's in your mind lately.
I like to talk about inventory-minded marketing. Most recently, been kind of developing that a little bit more in terms of reporting, like what kind of reports, what kind of coordination needs to happen between the inventory and the marketing team. And that's kind of what inventory-minded marketing is when a marketing team is marketing, they need to actually tell the inventory team that they're actually going to be doing something with the inventory that's kind of different than what has happened before.
Sure. You know, as a seller, you know, I've been selling for 7 years. I don't have a marketing team. I don't inventory.
Yeah.
I try to figure everything out myself, and a lot of sellers do that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So what are kind of some of the best practices, I guess, in terms of forecasting, thinking about inventory and advertising? For example, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
The way I forecast is very simple. I do like a kind of a 30-day average over the past 90 days, and then okay, this is kind of how much I need every month, assuming I'm not going to grow that much or lose sales. I'm going to need to keep that pace, and then I got hit with compliance. You know, 5 months of compliance, and everything got thrown off. Right, my Excel spreadsheets don't work anymore. What do you think?
What do I do with that? So first and foremost, when you're doing your averages, when you're figuring out, okay, like look at my 30-day average, you need to make sure that that average is accurate, because numbers can lie. You know, we say numbers are absolute, but they can actually lie. You know, with the same data, different formulas can come up with different answers, and the big way that happens is stockouts and season and sales spikes that are not going to repeat themselves. You're mentioned on, you know, some podcast or something like that. So we call it daily adjusted velocity. You look at, let's say you're looking at a 30-day average, but you were stocked out for 6 of those days. You need to count those as those are stock out days, and now I have a 24-day average. And I take that within that 30 days. It's only 24 days that I'm dividing by.
Got it.
Yeah, and often you have to do it the right way, because sometimes you say, oh well, some calculations, some algorithms say, oh, Amazon found a unit and you made 1 sale, so that's not a stock out day. Well, it actually is if you're selling 100 units and you go back to 1. So you have to make sure that your algorithm is actually finding the correct data.
Okay, so in terms of advertising and inventory, how do you, what have you observed in terms of strategy, dealing with inventory? Hey, I'm running low in inventory. What should I do with my advertising or my inventory, or what should I do exactly?
Yeah, so it depends on how long the potential stock out is going to be. If it's going to be like 5 days, 7 days, a good idea would be to start turning off some of the less profitable ads, so that every sale is more profitable on the way out, and maybe you can avoid that stock out. You want to make sure you're watching your ranking, because if you're slowing things down, you don't want to slow them down to the point where you drop ranking, because you want to, if you're going to stock out, you want to stock out on a high.
Sure. Okay.
So it depends on how long. If you're going to stock out, some people like to actually ramp it up before, so they actually increase ranking before the stock out.
Sure.
So it really depends how long the stock out's going to be.
Okay, and once you stock out, I heard many things. Either you kind of close your listing, or what do you do exactly? Yeah,
closing your listing is a good idea. And then you reopen it afterwards. It's not deleting your listing. That's not what you should do. But closing your listing, because that kind of also helps to cement your place in terms of the ranking.
Okay. How about let's talk about international just a little bit. International, Amazon, dealing with inventory. How does that work?
Like, how do you keep track of everything?
How do you keep track of everything? Doing reports and really understanding how much to stock in each region. Yeah,
so you do have to have a way of splitting all of that out. Sure. And especially when Brexit came, when we were creating our software, we had to actually reconfigure everything so that you could split Brexit, split the UK out of the rest of the regions. So you need to be able to split. If you're sending warehouse physically to that location, you need to have a separate forecast. So, when you get into other markets, you've got multiple forecasts going on. You have forecasts from your 3PL, your warehouse, to Amazon, but you also have to have a forecast from your supplier to your 3PL or your supplier direct to Amazon. So there's a lot of forecasts that are going on at the same time. Yeah.
So let's wrap up with a couple of best practices that you practice in your own business and for other sellers. What do you recommend?
Yeah, so in terms of coordinating inventory and marketing, the marketing team has to give a marketing plan to the inventory team. That's helpful. So, are you going to do a PPC campaign? How much is that going to increase sales? Are you doing any lightning deals? That type of thing on a per SKU basis. And then the inventory team has always been off the hook in terms of, this reciprocation. You always blame the marketing team, but the inventory team actually has to give reports too. And so very briefly, we talk about 4 reports. One is the stockout risk report, which is exactly what it sounds like. Here's the SKUs that are going to stock out. And the marketing team should stop marketing those or controlled marketing. And then there's the slow sellers report, which is a range, say between 5 and 20 sales a day. It's not one of those real losers, but we're not doing well with that product. So those reports should go to the marketing team so they can start focusing on and ramping up so those products don't become liquidation products, which is the next report. Liquidation report. Okay, let's move that as fast as possible. Let's see if we can use that stock to actually gain restock limits, right? Because sell-through helps with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the last report is the overstock report, which also helps you to see what do we have in excess of inventory. We could actually gain more restock limits and gain more ranking by doing some sort of a flash sale to move that inventory. Even if it's your best-selling inventory, it's any inventory that you have a lot of could become a liability, costing you money, taking up space, or it could be an asset in earning you restock limits and ranking.
As a seller, when do I get rid of my spreadsheets, my Excel, and start using a software?
Sure.
And talk about your company a little bit more.
Yeah, so usually it's at the point where you're having problems. We don't like to encourage people, from the beginning, your first, product or your first couple of products, you're still trying to get your feet on the ground, you're still trying to learn how to do this business. So spreadsheets are fine, but when you start ramping up the SKUs or the marketplaces, or now you have a 3PL and you're just losing track of things, that's when I suggest getting a software. And that was why we created SoStocked. We had too many stockouts, overstocking, and I realized there was a lot of profit margin that was being lost, a lot of revenue. And so SoStocked came about because I was looking for a solution. And the answer everyone was giving me, as in a few masterminds, what are you using? And they say, we've tried everything, nothing works, we're back to spreadsheets. And so I thought, well, there's got to be a better solution. So that's where SoStocked came about.
Hey, thank you so much. Where can people find more about you and find out more about you and your company?
Sure, SoStocked.com/connect is where you can find me. Okay. You can look at the software and all of that.
Hey, thanks so much.
Yes, awesome. Thanks.